Hello everyone and welcome to another collection showcase. Now first things first, I apologise if you can hear noise in the background. That is my printer. It is now currently up in my office and I'm having to run it to get some stuff printed, obviously. But today we're going to look at some new prototype pieces I have acquired. There's nothing particularly unique and new in this particular video. It's all variants of stuff that I've had before, or I've gotten before. And we're going to start off with this, which is obviously a Captain Jack figure. This has the unreleased head that was never used. I believe it was vetoed by John Barrowman. He wasn't happy with the sculpt, so it was never produced. And then we got the one that was actually on the released figure. I already have the coated version with this head painted and a coatless version of this figure, but that has the waxy version of the head because it was a Series 3 release. This is the painted head version of the coatless release. I do prefer the painted head version. It's very nice to see this. I'm hoping that one day I may be able to track down, assuming it exists, the waxy headed version of the coated figure, and then I'll have all four. But it's a lovely piece. Again, as I've said in my previous video on these prototypes, I personally think this is a much better head sculpt. It is one that I've used on a couple of my customs. I hasten to add, I haven't used the original. I've taken a cast of the original and made my own versions to do custom versions. Obviously, for legal reasons, I need to state this, I cannot sell cast or make cast or give away casts of this head sculpt, so please don't ask. But yeah, it's a nice figure to have. You know, I do like Captain Jack as a character, so it's a nice one to have as part of the collection, and it's always nice to have things like this which are a bit more unique and a bit different to what else we have seen released, especially when it's something like this that's obviously had a lot of work put into it and then is never going to be released, or at least is highly unlikely to ever going to be released. Next up here we have a cyber controller figure, but if I just use my phone in the background you can see this is in fact a transparent cyber controller. It does have, as you can see, the pink brain and everything like that. It's got all of the extra rivets on the torso piece, and it is a completely transparent version. I do have a standard transparent Cyberman, which I have previously showed off, but I've been really wanting to try and track down and find this one. Now, at the time I recorded my first video on this prototype version, I was aware of the real reason behind these being produced. At the time I was not allowed to say that, but I believe it has now been publicly stated, because I know there's been a bit of conjecture about exactly what these prototype Ghost Cybermen were. So what has been said officially is these were actually produced never to be released. They were produced in order to catch a leak in the factory. So I know that, you know, in the past I've said, you know, that these were a cancelled release from sort of Series 2. I know other people have said that, and I know there have always been rumours about, you know, that that's not what they were for. You know, I just want to put this in now just to A, make this video a bit longer, but also B, just to clear that up. These weren't ever actually meant to be produced for release. They were produced purely as a trap, as it were, but it is one which I think is fantastic, and whilst I don't think this would ever be released, because obviously we never got this in the show, I think actually having a proper Ghost Cyberman release for sort of B&M pack, perhaps of Series 2, because, you know, we've had the Ninth Doctor holographic release, obviously very different to the prototype one, but I'm sure, you know, with the sort of banding that they did on that and the sort of paintwork, they could do a Ghost Cyberman, a standard Ghost Cyberman with new paintwork, which would mean that lots of fans would then have that, but then also it would mean that the prototype versions are still kept unique and different looking. And, you know, I think it would be really popular. The fact that we've had, you know, the Weeping Angel holographic versions as well recently, the Ninth Doctor holographic version, I think a Ghost Cyberman would be absolutely fantastic. I'm sure that people would love to see that as a released figure. I know I certainly would, because I've got a bit of a thing for transparent figures. I don't know why, I do like them. So having this prototype version is great, but I think it would be a really good idea, fantastic idea, to see it actually officially released as a figure, a variant of the Ghost Cyberman. Because it would look great in the collection, but as I said, I think lots of people would be very interested in having one. So I don't think it's going to happen, but you never know. We never thought we'd get a holographic Ninth Doctor, and yet we got one in the most recent B&M set. So fingers crossed. And the last figure in this video is one that I appreciate you're going to have to take my word for. But this is a pre-production Death to the Daleks from the recent B&M sets. If I were to say that I received this from possibly the highest authority, trusted authority, I will let you draw your own conclusions from that. But I have received this from a source which I absolutely unequivocally trust. If they say this is a pre-production piece, they would know. So this is exactly how I've received it, which again, it looks like your normal Death to the Daleks variant of the recent B&M sets, which it does, but because this has the orange dome lights, this actually ends up having the normal gun rather than the machine gun weapon. And also, because it wasn't in the UK release, this has actually had its underside of the slats at the back fully painted. I know, again, there were some out there that did have that, but the majority of ones, it seems, released in the UK didn't. I believe ones for the Australian market did have that. But yeah, it's nothing particularly unique, and it's nothing that is particularly surprising, because with what we've had recently. And again, it is one of those ones that it wouldn't be difficult for somebody to to make this variant just by swapping the gun over, etc. But it's a nice one to have in the collection. As I said, I know where it's come from. It's definitely a nice one to have, a nice piece to have. And yeah, like the other Daleks in my collection, it's something which is just that little bit more unique, even if it's not something that's probably ever going to be worth very much. It's a nice little piece to have. But that brings to a close another collections showcase. As always, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Like, vote, subscribe, share. It really helps me out a lot. And be sure to check out the description below for a link to my Patreon. There is an update coming on my figure animation, both to my Patreon and my channel in future. Just to give you all an update on the status and what is going on with the figure animation. I know it's been a very long time. There have been outside factors which have meant there have been delays and things like that. It is still ongoing, but an update will be coming soon. But if you head over to my Patreon, just for the minimum subscribing, you can get your name at the end of my videos, and all the donations to my Patreon go back into my channel. It really does help me out a lot in keeping my keeping my content going and things like that, especially when it comes to getting parts for customs. I salute you all, and I will see you in another video very soon.